Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Real Deal Durham podcast. This show is all about empowering you, yes, you, to make the best possible decisions in real estate. Whether you're buying, selling, investing, or even renting, this show is for you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Isaiah Henry, and I am born and raised in the Durham region. I'm a seven-figure real estate investor specializing in long-distance real estate investing, as well as value-add projects. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a community-focused real estate agent right here in the Durham region. And fun fact about me, before getting into real estate, I actually had a pretty decent career in law enforcement. I was a special constable, I was a police officer in Toronto, and a bylaw officer even. So I know the rules, and yeah, you don't want to play tough with me, but you guys didn't come here to hear all the war stories of my law enforcement career. You came here for some real estate education. So without further ado, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real Deal Durham podcast. Today is going to be a great show. Our topic discussion for today is about why a house is not an investment. So we'll make sure we get into that a little bit later. Today's quick tip is to start small. Begin your real estate journey, whether investing or buying, with smaller, less complex properties. This allows you to gain experience, learn the ropes, and mitigate any potential risk before tackling bigger enlargement investments or projects. Now, if you're a home buyer, start with that actual starter home. Like, you don't have to go buy that 1.5, 1.2, even $900,000 home just because. Start with that small starter home to get you started. And if you're an investor, maybe look for a house hack opportunity or even the traditional single family duplex rental before getting into anything crazy like, the 5 to 10 unit buildings, value add, full burst, stuff like that. And if you're a seller, just focus on the straight up sale. Real estate agent on both sides, easy sale before you move into some of the more complex things like seller financing, vendor takebacks, holding notes, and all that crazy stuff there. So today's quick tip, smart small. It's Isaiah Henry here with the Real Deal Durham podcast, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Real Deal Durham podcast. And in today's business update, I'm going to give you a little lowdown on what's going on with me. So on the investment side, unfortunately, I had a property that's really delayed on closing. We were supposed to close last Thursday, I think. But unfortunately, there were some title issues. There was a couple of liens and things registered on title, and my lawyer just didn't feel comfortable closing unless it's actually clear. So this is why it's very important to have a good lawyer on your team, whether it's a residential purchase or an investment purchase. Making sure you close with clean title is super important. If I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't have got title insurance, and that could have led things a little bit messy because this was going to be a flip project. So didn't want to get it all done, do the flip, go to sell it, and then there's all these issues again. So better safe than sorry, get everything done on the first try there. In some other news, I actually walked away from a fourplex. I was really excited getting into a slightly larger project, but this is the thing. If you have a seller or even a real estate agent on the other side who's not letting you complete your due diligence, that's like red flag. Probably want to walk away. In my specific situation, I was a fourplex. I was looking to get a fire retrofit, and I was looking to ask the city what the zoning was for that specific property. As soon as I started asking about that, the seller was going nuts. She's like, don't call the city, don't call the fire department, just take it as is. It's fine. I've been operating it for years. So when you hear stuff like that where you don't want to get people involved, maybe a time to walk away. I always say, if you're not able to complete your due diligence, it's not the deal for you. Trust me, there's other properties out there that we can get you into. So very important there. Last thing, I just went back to my bread and butter. I got a couple offers in right now on some single family homes. And yes, they still work. They still cash flow at these crazy interest rates. And I'm huge into like the ease of management in your portfolio. Don't get me wrong, bigger units are nice. But if you get a nice set of singles that are like very management or very low on the management intensive side, might be something to look at. So if you're interested in some stuff like that, especially in Northern Ontario where I invest predominantly, definitely reach out to me, DM, phone call, whatever you do. I can kind of show you what we got going on over there and say, hey, maybe you want to get involved. Other than that, everything else is all good. Got a couple leases in the pipeline, some more leads working on buyer and seller. But yeah, things are pretty good for Isaiah over here. No complaints there. Guys, it's the Real Deal Durham podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. And in today's topic discussion on the Real Deal Durham podcast, I'm going to talk about why a house is not an investment. Yes, that's right. I said it. A house is not an investment. But whoa, wait, before you all click off, walk away and say, this guy's out of his mind, let me walk you through why I feel a house is not an investment. I have this conversation a lot with, home buyers and investors, depending on where they land there. But this is where it always comes down to. You live in a house, but you live off your investments. I'll say that one more time. You live in a house, inside a house, but you live off your investments or off the income from your investments. So let's break it down what that actually looks like. Before we get into why I think a house is not an investment, I'm going to give you two definitions. I'm going to define what an investment is in a traditional sense, and then I'm going to define what a house is, and then we'll compare what that actually look like. So I pulled a couple definitions. So definition of an investment, it's the action or process of investing money for a profit or material result. It's also a thing that is worth buying because it may be profitable or useful in the future. And the third definition is it's an act of devoting time, effort, or energy to a particular undertaking that you expect to be worthwhile in the future. Now, that's the definition of an investment. I think that all makes sense, whether you're investing in real estate, stocks, or some other investment vehicle. But let's define a home so I can show you why a house is not an investment. So a house, definition of a house, like what I'm in right now. It's a building for human habitation, especially one that is lived in by a family or small group of people. It's also defined as some place to provide a person or animal with shelter or living quarters. And the final definition of a home, it's a space to provide accommodation. Now, if you just go back and you listen to those definitions, they are completely different. One is all about actually being able to generate income or some sort of return, and one is about actually being able to live. Guys, I'll say it again. You live in a house, but you live off your investments. So now that we know the definitions, I want to explain to you why a house is not an investment. Now, there's three big reasons I'm going to get into today, but here's just a couple. A house is not an investment because of the lack of diversification. A house is not an investment because of the lack of liquidity. A house is not an investment because it depends on the local market where that house is located. And the last one, a house is not an investment because of the opportunity costs. Now, the three main reasons that I want to break down in this topic discussion are the three C's. I call it the three C's, Triple C, Craig's Crew, all that good stuff. So the three main reasons why a house is not an investment is 1, comparison, 2, cash flow, and 3, CapEx or capital expenditures. So we'll break down those a little bit now. So the first thing I want to get into is the comparison. I'm going to compare why a house is not an investment. Now, for all you math nerds, get out your pen, get out your calculator, because we're going to be doing some numbers. Now, if you're not a big numbers fan, that's fine. Just bear with me and really try to internalize what I'm saying so you can get that comparison. So I took this from an actual example in the Durham region. So 35 years ago, house is worth $300,000. 35 years later, that house is worth $1.5 million. So I say it again, $300,000, and then 35 years later, it's worth $1.5 million. Not a bad return, right? Right? Wrong. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, oh, that's sick. Like that return must be crazy. When you actually break it down over 35 years, that turns out to be a 4.7 annualized return. That's under 5%. Now, again, it's not like the worst. It's not like you're losing money, but under 5%, that's not a super exciting return that I'm going to tell all my friends and family about. Now, if you look at it from an investment side, if you took that same $300,000, you put it into like a regular S&P index fund for 35 years at 10%, which is the average, you're going to be left with $8 million at the end of 35 years. Yes, 8 million. So the difference here, just comparing, we have 1.5 million in the house and 8 million if you were to invest that in the stock market in a nice and easy low risk ETF like the S&P 500. So that's a huge difference there. And one's giving you a 4.7 return and the other's giving you a 10% return. But Isaiah, I didn't invest the whole 300,000. I just invested the down payment. Sure, let me show you those numbers as well because it still proves the same. So on a $300,000 house with 20% down, you're about 60K, just 60K, whatever the closing costs are, whatever. So if you take that same number, $60,000, 4.7% return, which is what we saw on the big number, you're left with $300,000 after 35 years. Not bad. But let's see what it's looking like if we invested that in the stock market with something like the S&P 500. 60K, 10% over 35 years, you're left with $1.6 I think it's $1.67 million. So again, we can run this calculation any way you want, but it's safe to say on the comparison side, a house is not an investment. It's because you live in it. It's not meant to make money or grow off it there. So the second element of why a house is not an investment is cash flow. Now, cash flow is like the money left over from your investment that you're able to bring in. You can spend it on whatever you want, your watch, your Bugatti, living expenses, all that good stuff. But let's compare it here. So with a house, your opportunity cost is a big issue or a big factor that you need to take into play while contemplating if the house is an investment or not. The equity that you have in your house is tied up. Like you can't access it. It just sits there. It's not like you can go like, pull 30K or pull 10K out of your house. Like there's nothing. If you do, you're adding more debt. And again, the opportunity cost of doing that hinders you from getting into other higher yielding investments. Also a down payment, which is very simple. Down payment, your mortgage costs, they're tied up in the house. You have to pay your mortgage every month, and the down payment that you put on your house is pretty much locked in there forever. It's very rare that you'll be able to access more than 80% of your home's additional value. So that initial 20% that you put in there, that's locked up, and you're not seeing that until you either sell or you completely pay off your mortgage there. So something to be considered. Another thing to be considered here is the transaction cost of actually owning a house. Buying or selling a house does not come without fees. On the buying side, there's all sorts of closing costs. You have your lawyer fees. You have your renovations if you're fixing it up, land transfer tax. You got to pay your real estate commissions because your boy needs to eat as well, right? So you're paying a lot of transactional costs to just get into this investment versus on the stock side or something more liquid. It's very easy to get in and out of stock. So you pay maybe a couple trade fees, but nothing like the closing costs or real estate fees that go with these larger transactions. And the final thing here related to cash flow is limited flexibility. Now, I touched on it earlier, but having so much money tied up in your house as an investment, in your opinion, really limits you because it's all in one asset. Anything happens, like you're so tied up in this that you're not liquid, you're not diversified because everything's tied up into your house. And the worst thing, you probably can't access it, which is another thing that's a big deal there. Now, with all your money in your house, you're limiting your ability to go out for other investments. Someone comes to you with a real cool business opportunity. You might not have the ability to do it based on all the money being tied up in your house. So that's something that I don't love or that I don't think about when I'm thinking of the house as an investment. Again, you live in your house, but you live off your investments. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on here is CapEx. CapEx stands for capital expenditure. So those are the big things related to your house. But for this, I kind of summed it up with everything related to the cost of actually owning a house. Now, if you were going to own a house for 35 years, I'm going to tell you straight up, it does not happen for free. You can't just buy a house and 35 years later with no money out of pocket think it's going to appreciate to that 1.5 million. It may go up a little bit, but if you're not putting the money into the house that you need to, there's no way you're going to get that kind of value or even have a house that's going to be standing at the end of 35 years. Now, there's a lot of stuff, but I'm actually going to read it to you because I actually want you to break down what is actually happening in home ownership. So one, maintenance costs. You're going to have to do those little repairs, the window cracks, the flooring repairs, if there's any leaks, plumbing, all that stuff is going to happen when you're owning a house. Insurance, you have to have insurance on your house. Now, you don't have to have renter's insurance or some of the more intense insurance policies, but you're paying insurance on your house every month. Knock on wood, hopefully you never have to use it, but it is something that you're paying for your house for the entirety of those 35 years. Financing costs. Most people don't have the money to just, slap down that cash on your property. So they're usually financing it, and that comes with mortgage payments as well as interest payments on the house. Property taxes. Now, depending where you are in the city, whether you're in Oshawa, Pickering, Ajax, Whitby, the property taxes are slightly different, but wherever they are, you're going to pay them because the city provides you services, and as a result, you pay those through your property taxes. Renovations. Now, I don't know if you know anything about design or how homes look, but if you look at homes over the years, they've changed over the years. It's not the same kind of design that happened 30 years ago or even 5 years ago for that matter. So owning a home for that long, you're going to be putting some renovations in to keep that up to the standard that is around the community. Utilities. You need your water, you need your hydro, and you got to make sure you're paying the light bill. So the utilities are something you're paying just to keep the house kind of running there. The roof. The roof is not going to last 35 years. And if you have a roof that does it, please call me because I need the name of that roofer. So at least once or twice in the lifespan of your property, you're probably going to end up doing your roof. And I'll tell you, because I just did a roof, they are not cheap. So something you got to factor into actual home ownership. Appliances, you have a dishwasher, washer, dryer, fridge, freezer, all those things are going to either need to be repaired or replaced over the lifetime of that house. HVAC, whether it's your furnace, your air conditioner, or any of your HVAC systems will need to be taken care of over the life of your house as well. Now there's yard work, house cleaning, all those things, like you're not getting that money back. Like you don't invest $150 into landscaping or lawn care and expect to get that back when you sell your house. Those are costs that go into home ownership, but you don't actually see them back. Now, some of the bigger items here might be foundation. If you have any cracks or leaks there, that's something that you want to take care of through your home ownership experience as well. And finally, if you're in a condo or even a townhouse condo, you're going to be paying a ton of condo fees that may or may not actually be received back when you go into selling your property there. So all these fees, all these stuff that I told you about, like for home ownership, you got to pay for that. And it amounts to about 2.5% per year. And the thing is, you don't get that money back. I'm telling you, you don't get it back. All the stuff I talked about, that's just the cost, or I call them sunk costs into owning a house, because you're not getting that back, and it's very rare you're going to get that back in terms of some kind of return when you sell your property. So with that being said, let me break down those numbers from the comparison side again to show you what it actually looks like. So like I said before, you have a house for $300,000, 35 years, it appreciates to $1.5 million. Good for you. Now, before I told you that's like a 4.7 annualized return, which again is average at best. But now if we take away that 2.5% of all the sunk costs, maintenance, and CapEx that you put into actually owning a house over that 35 years, your return goes from 4.7% to 2.2%. Oh my goodness. I swear banks were paying more than that at times there. So if you're trying to tell me that a house is an investment and you're getting 2.2% on your house, I think we need to have a better discussion on what your investments actually look like. And if you take that 2.2%, you apply it to the 300,000 for the original house, you're left with $640K after 35 years. That's not even $1 million. And if you take that same example, same numbers, and you bring it over to like a traditional investment in like a S&P 500 ETF type of investment, that 300 grand that you would have put in on the house, now it's not going to make 10% in the S&P because I'll take away the 2.5. So let's say it makes 7% or 7.5% over the next 35 years. Instead of 8 million that we were going to get, we're still left with $3.7 million after the 35 years. So in this final example with the CapEx included, we're talking about $640,000 versus $3.7 million. Guys, I'll say it again. You live in a house, you live off your investments. But guys, you're probably wondering like, okay, Isaiah, maybe a house is an investment. I get you. But what do I do? Let me tell you. So there's three big things I want you to understand after this conversation. The first thing, you live in a home, you live off your investments. Don't think about a house as something like a big nest egg or a big investment vehicle that you're getting into. It's shelter. Everyone needs shelter. So if you decide to buy a home because home ownership is important to you, amazing. I love that for you. And hey, I'd love to help you buy if you need it as well. But if you decide to rent as your shelter, that's okay too. Shelter is something like it's a basic need for all humans. So whether you buy, own, or rent, it's just shelter. It's not an investment. Now, in terms of an investment, that is something where you can live off of. Investments spit out income. They give you money so that you can live that lifestyle. Investments pay for your living. Investments pay for your lifestyle. Investments pay for those luxuries. So again, you live in a house, but you live off your investments. Number two, buy a house and invest. I'm not saying real estate is a bad thing. I'm not saying buying a house is a bad thing. I'm saying it can't be the only thing. You can't just buy a house and say, okay, I bought a house, I'm set, like nothing else is gonna go wrong, I'm good, I don't need to invest, I'm perfect. No. I'm saying that a house is only one part of the equation. You wanna solidify where you live, and home ownership gives you way more protection and stability than renting or leasing or anything like that. So if you want to own a home or buy, great, but you still need to invest. Now, whether that's rental properties, whether that's in the stock market, whether that's some sort of like crazy different alternative investment, I don't care. I just want you to know you need to buy or own a house as well as invest. Now, one of the big things that I like to do with my clients is that Living the Dream program that I've spoken about. It's where you either buy or live where you want, and then you invest somewhere where it makes sense. So if that's interesting for you, drop me a comment below. I'd love to give you some more information on that. And the number 3 thing you need to know after this conversation, please guys, work with a professional. If it's not me, please connect with a professional who understands this process. They understand that a house is not an investment, but they understand where you are financially. They're going to work with you, either get you into a house where you can own or rent, and then make sure that your investment side of your lifestyle is still going along. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to see you 35 years later thinking you're going to have all this money and you look around, you're like, oh crap, it's not exactly how I planned. So again, work with a professional, let them help you reach your financial goals, whether that's through home ownership or through investing or a combination of them both. So I think that's it for me, guys. And I'll say it one more time. It's Isaiah Henry. It's the Real Deal Durham podcast. And remember, a house is not an investment because you live in a house and you live off your investments. Guys, Isaiah Henry here, Real Deal Durham podcast. We will be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's Isaiah Henry here with the Real Deal Durham podcast. It's Isaiah Henry here with the Real Deal Durham podcast. And guys, super excited for this week's In the Community feature, just because I kind of have an affinity to this business here. So today, I'm happy to introduce CrossFit Oshawa. That's where I'll be making all the gains. That's where I'll be throwing up the weights, and that's where the party is. So let me go into a little bit of detail what's going on there. So again, they're called CrossFit Oshawa. You can find them online at CrossFitOshawa.com. They're on Instagram at CrossFit_Oshawa. And if you can reach out to them by email at CrossFitOshawainfo@gmail.com. Phone number for them is 905-260-5360, and they're located at 712 Wilson Road South in Oshawa. That's like Wilson and Wentworth area there. It's an industrial area, easy to find, no problems. But let me tell you a little bit what's going on at CrossFit Oshawa. So let's talk about CrossFit Oshawa. It's the ultimate fitness destination where hundreds of glowing reviews underscore the excellence going on there every single day. This dynamic gym offers more than just top-notch facilities. It's a haven for support, inclusivity, and gains. So many gains. At CrossFit Oshawa, coaching is a cornerstone. Regardless of your fitness level or experience, they have a dedicated team of coaches to guide you towards success. Inclusiveness is paramount, and they believe in empowering everyone to grow physically and mentally. What truly sets apart this gym is its vibrant community. It's more than just a place to sweat. It's a hub of community and enjoyment. And I, for one, have actually experienced it firsthand. Friendships form, achievements are celebrated, and personal advancements are championed. Whether you're a fitness aficionado or whether you got a 1,000-pound total like your boy, or whether you're just new to this whole working out or CrossFit thing, CrossFit Oshawa welcomes you to embrace a healthier lifestyle within its motivating space. Uniting superb coaching, exceptional community, facility geared for your progress, CrossFit Oshawa is where fitness becomes an exhilarating journey. So guys, join in, get fit, and relish in the remarkable experience that is CrossFit Oshawa. If you want to try it out, guys, just send them a DM. Like I gave you all the information. Send them a DM. Let them know you want to try, and let them know your boy Isaiah sent you. And if not, just DM me directly. I'll hook you up. I'll give you that little VIP treatment there, and I'll make sure you get in because, guys, the gains are for everyone. And if you're looking about offers or events going on there, coming up in October, CrossFit Oshawa is actually hosting the Durham Fall Classic, which is a CrossFit competition, and it's really to claim the crown of the fittest man or woman in the Durham region. So if you're interested in that, or want some more information on that, definitely reach out to CrossFit Oshawa or myself, and I can give you the information there. So just so you have the information again, it's CrossFit Oshawa. They're on Instagram at CrossFit_Oshawa. Website is CrossFitOshawa.com. They have an email address and phone, and they're located at 712 Wilson Road South in Oshawa. If you don't know where that is, meet me at 6 a.m. because that's where I will be at the gym, and I'll help you get there, get in to the gym there. So guys, it's the Real Deal Durham podcast. Super excited to feature CrossFit Oshawa in this week's In the Community feature. We'll be right back, and I promise I'll keep my shirt on. It won't be a CrossFit situation there, guys. We'll be right back. What's going on, everyone? Isaiah Henry back with the Real Deal Durham podcast. Okay, we have a question and answer for you. Now, again, these questions come from either my Instagram DMs, emails, some of my mentorship clients, or anyone who's got a question about real estate. So if you do have a question for me, please reach out, comments, DMs, whatever you got. I'd love to feature your question here on the Real Deal Durham podcast. Let's get into it. Hey, Isaiah, I'm looking to rent a property. Nice. Buying is a little out of the question for me at this point, so I want to make sure I'm in good shape to get accepted as a tenant. What can I do to prepare? Well, first of all, you're doing a bang up job making sure you're going that extra mile to prepare yourself, because I know so many people who want to be renters but just have a laissez-faire approach to it. They're like, ugh, I guess I'll rent. No. This is still a competitive market. Whether you're a renter or you're a buyer, you need to be competitive so that you're getting the best property possible, whether you're renting or buying. But let's get into what I would do. So the first thing I would do before we even talk about the rental or anything is let's get your budget in order. I do this with all my clients to make sure that we're actually going after a property that they can afford and maintain over the long term. So when I'm doing a budget with myself or client, or you can do this yourself, is you start with your income. Write down all your incomes, whether you're getting paid, you have government assistance, you have side hustle, your mom gives you money every month, whatever it is, write all your income down to start. The next thing I do is take the rent amount that you feel is appropriate. If you're looking for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom, we're going to run some comparable properties to give you a little bit of a range of what you can expect to pay for rent. So we now have our income and our rent, and then we'll start with some of the other expenses like our insurance, utilities, groceries, car payments. If you have a car payment, please sell it. I'm not a huge fan of car payments. We can get into that later. But if you have a car payment, fine, write it down. But if not, try to sell it so we don't have that on our debt portfolio there. And then the last thing, any loan or debt payments, whether it's credit cards, consumer debts, student loans, or anything like that. Once we have a really good look at your budget and making sure all the numbers are in line, we can move on to step number 2, which is our documents. So there's a lot of documents that you got to get together. When you're buying a house, a lot of the documentation side is taken care of by the mortgage agent or the bank or your lender. But on a lease, a lot of the paperwork is done upfront by either yourself or with your realtor in real time. So for the documents, first thing we're going to do is fill out a standard rental application. Now, depending on who you're trying to rent from, they may have their own application, but I always advise just fill out the basic one. At least you have it. It's the OREA form 410 or OREA 410. I have tons of copies. If you need one, just send me a message and I'd be happy to provide it to you. So we'll get the rental application, and please fill it out in full. It takes like 10 minutes. You got to maybe do a little bit of research to get some phone numbers, but actually take the time and fill it out. So get that all done. We're going to get your employment letter or income letter. Now, again, I don't discriminate whether you're employed or you get income from other sources, but however your income is showing up, I want to get a letter or something to kind of provide support and documentation of that income. The next thing I would do is proof of income. So if you have regular employment income, probably take the last 3 pay stubs, or if you have any other sort of income, maybe you're going to take 6 months of bank statements and highlight where that income's coming in, so you can show a pattern so people understand, okay, this person is getting paid or creating income on normal intervals, and give you a little bit more stability in your application. After that, we're going to get your credit report. Now, me personally, I'm not huge on credit reports. Like, I don't think they're the be all and end all, but so many people think they're important. So again, we play the game the way the rules are. So make sure you get your credit report. I like to use a single key for my credit reports, but there's also some free applications out there. There's a free application through Equifax. I can put that link in the show notes below so you can get that as well. And then the final thing, make sure you have a copy of your ID. Don't lead with your SIN number. You can keep that private until a little bit later in the stages. But a driver's license, permanent resident card, student ID, anything with like that's going to be a good form of ID that you can use to just add to your application, giving that landlord or that other realtor a sense of security with your application. So those are the documents. And the third thing here I want to do is just kind of explain what I do for my clients. Now, again, if you're leasing, you can do it all by yourself. There's Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, or you can just knock on doors that have a for rent sign. You can do it by yourself. But a big thing that I do as a realtor is I actually help others get into rental properties themselves. I just worked with a tenant. We just found a property in Ajax for him, so that was super excited. So what I like to do with my clients is go a step above. I present a nice tenant package for landlords, either write directly to the landlord or for the realtors, depending on what client I'm working with. So now my tenant packages have all the above information that I spoke about, but they also have a little bit of extras. I do a professional tenant summary, which is just a document outlining some of the tenant strengths, weaknesses, and lifestyle that really paints a nice picture for the landlord. Number 2, I do enriched references. Now, I won't go into too much detail. I'll keep that one for my clients there, but I have an enriched reference system that gives the landlords a little bit more faith or a little bit more stability with that application, knowing about those references. I use all single keys resources to help my clients out, make sure they're in the most competitive state possible. We also do a lifestyle review, and we document the budget, and we document some of those other things for that landlord so they have more peace of mind accepting you as a tenant. And then finally, we wrap it up all in a professional presentation, because I always like to say how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you bring this professional package to a landlord on the first day, that really sets a tone. It's a really good first impression, and I've seen it work wonders. So I love doing it with my clients. Feel free to do it yourselves, or if you have any questions, you can kind of get back to me on it there. So that's all you need. Now, you can do it yourself. It's very easy, and I just walked you through the steps there. But if you are looking for someone to help you out with that, please send me a DM. I'd love to help you out, whether you're getting into a lease or if you're leasing yourself and you're looking for a tenant yourself. I'd love to help you out there as well. Guys, it's the Real Deal Durham podcast. Thank you so much for submitting your question. Don't forget to submit yours. It's Isaiah Henry, and we will be right back. Welcome back, guys. It's the Real Deal Durham podcast. And guys, we did it. Another episode in the books. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really, really do appreciate it. I know your attention could be anywhere, so I really appreciate you spending a couple minutes with me today. If you are watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're watching on any of the audio platforms, leave a 5-star review. Just be nice. I got on a funky shirt for y'all today. I got chants up top. So guys, just, be nice. But if you got something negative to say it with your chest, because again, this is all about empowering everyone to make the best real estate decisions possible. And I want to do my part to help you guys do that there. If you are a Durham-based business, side hustler, entrepreneur, you know someone, you got a favorite restaurant you want to go and you want them highlighted on the Real Deal Durham podcast, please send me a message. I'd love to highlight them. This is all about the community here. Don't forget to grab a copy of the free neighborhood and price guide. It's for Durham. We update it every month. And if you haven't got a copy of the rookie real estate investor, make sure you got it. It's just full of knowledge in here. So make sure you get a copy of that as well. Shout out to Apollo for the music for the episode, and shout out to CrossFit Oshawa for one of the best gyms in the Durham region. Make sure you go check them out. And thank you for being a community feature here today. And guys, thanks so much for joining me. It's the Real Deal Durham podcast with your host, Isaiah Henry. And until next time, I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.